So the footing here is absolutely fantastic. You know, as you know, there was a hurricane forecast to come in, so you know everybody was getting pretty nervous. I don't know how many inches of rain fell, but they had a fair amount of rain and there was standing water on Saturday. By Sunday, there wasn't a puddle to be seen on any of these arenas. They were absolutely in pristine condition. So the footing is absolutely fantastic as far as drainage and everything else goes. Super traction. A lot of times we like the horses to slide a little bit when they're landing. This footing doesn't necessarily slide like that, but as far as having an all-weather footing that you can ride on in any sort of conditions, no matter how much rain you get, it's absolutely phenomenal. You can't beat it, and it's why they're using this kind of footing at most of the international events. You know, in the old days, a lot of times we'd have sand or grass, and if you got rain, you had puddles, and it was very, very, very slippery, and sometimes horses would fall down. We've seen it happen at Olympics in the past and World Equestrian Games in the past. On this footing, they hold up really well. It's super. We usually try with the mechanics on the shoe. You don't want to have a shoe that has a really deep crease in it, say like a European fullered shoe. You want something that's a little bit wider and flatter with a shallower crease that's a little smooth so the horses can slide on top of the footing a little bit. And you'll see that a lot of these horses here, as opposed to wearing 10mm shoes, are wearing wider 8mm shoes. And there's also quite a lot of horses that are wearing pads and pores on all 4 feet, which is keeping them on top of the ground so there's not quite as much cup, and they're able to stay on top of the ground and just get that little bit of extra slide that they need so they're not jamming when they land. It's very important. And we can learn a lot from the way the Europeans shoe their horses. You know, these horses are showing at very top levels. They're traveling all over the world to different venues. And we learn a lot by watching the styles of shoes they're using. And it seems like the wider, thinner shoes are doing a lot better on this footing as opposed to the slightly thicker, narrower shoes. They're working really well. Horses that are competing on it a lot, if they're not shod with a shoe that's going to let them slip and slide a little bit, they tend to get sore suspensories. That's not to say that there's an injury to the suspensory, they're just fatigued. At the end of the day, they're just tired and sore. So, you know, you may be doing more icing, a little more treatment like that for them. But, you know, you got to weigh both sides. You know, what's more important, keeping a horse upright, not falling down, not slipping, you know, not slipping to the point they're falling down, or keeping a horse on footing that you can guarantee you're going to be able to ride on every day. So, you know, it's, from what I've seen, you know, just keeping a little bit of slide in those shoes, allowing that front end to slide just a little bit seems to make a huge difference. I mean, depending on the horse, some horses might need a very small cock, we call them. It's like a cleat that soccer or rugby players would wear. Some of them will need a little small one behind, just if they're making a super tight turn so they don't spin out. And again, it would depend on the horse. The rider would know when he sees, say, the jump off course, well, I've got to make a really tight turn there. My horse has a tendency to slide out a little bit when he makes a left turn. Maybe we should pop a little small stud in him just for this one class. So the horse's shoes are always pre-drilled and tapped to take stud holes. And the grooms will have multiple different sizes and styles of studs based on the footing they're going to be facing. And occasionally in a jump off you will see them with a very small stud, usually behind, just for an extra little bit of traction. But as a rule on this footing, they don't need those studs at all. You know, in the old days on sand and grass, they wore studs in all 4 feet all the time when they were jumping, but on this they don't need that, which is actually a good thing. So they don't get that extra jam that they can get when landing off a stud.